YouTube. So I just wanted to say hi. It's been 2 weeks since I uploaded my last video, and I have good reason for that. In relation to this piece of paper I'm holding, I have been studying to pass my NASM, which stands for National Academy of Sports Medicine, Certified Personal Training course since about January of this past year. So a good 6 months. And this week on Monday, I passed. Woohoo! So that's what this is. See that right there? Pass. I was so excited to pass that. I was very nervous. And one thing that I wish I had done before I started preparing for that certification was watch some YouTube videos of people who had passed it. I didn't really do that until I was kind of freaking out, and then I wanted to see like what everyone had to say about the test and everything. So I wanted to make a video for anyone who is going to be taking their test soon. This is a real-time video. I took my test on Monday, and I am filming this now on a Thursday of the same week. So all the information is fresh in my head, and I just want to give you guys feedback on what I thought about the test, how I studied for it. I'm not going to get really into the specifics of like answers to the questions, but I'm just going to give you my personal feedback. So most of you guys on here probably watch me for homeschooling, and you might not even know that I do have a background in fitness. It started back actually, I taught dance classes to little kids before I ever had kids of my own. And so teaching started back then for me. And then about 4 years ago, after I had my last child in 4 years, and I was desperate to get back into shape and feel good about myself again, not just like I was a mom, just kind of like grinding out the days, I started just working out. And honestly, since that point, all the things that God has laid before me have really been mapped out by Him. It's been made obvious to me that He has me here encouraging women, moms, specifically moms, to be fit while having kids and to figure that out. So going back to the point of the video, the NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine Certified Personal Training Course Review. Now, if you're not familiar with anything fitness related at all, there's hundreds of certifying agencies for personal training. However, not all of them are credible. I'm already employed by a gym, and so I was pointed to either complete this certification, the NASM, or another one. I want to say it's ACSM was the other one. So there are tons of personal training courses, but they are not all created equal. So it's important, if you're ever in the business of hiring a personal trainer, that you find one who has completed one or both, or a comparable certifying agency. So beware of that. The NASM is highly respected. It's kind of like the industry standard. You can, if you have that cert, you're pretty much guaranteed to like work at any reputable gym. And so that's why I went with it. Now, with that being said, it is one of the more expensive certifications to get. They do have different course options. There's like a self-study option, which is the cheapest one. Then there's another one, and then there's some guaranteed ones, like guaranteed job placement course. And I didn't need that because I'm already hired by a facility, because I already do team training and I already have done group exercise. And so this was really just to be able to work one-on-one with people that I already have built a rapport with. So I went with the eTeach course, and the first thing they did was send me this big book right here. Okay, you can buy this on Amazon. I don't know price-wise if it's beneficial, because it was included in my course. So with the eTeach course for NASM personal training, they sent me this book, and the eTeach course it was like an online portal that you logged into. There were videos to watch, and then each week there were assignments like reading, like read chapters 12, 11, and 10, and then complete this discussion question, and then watch these videos on certain subjects in here. And the eTeach option also had a midterm, and then it had 3 practice tests at the end once you had gone through all of the material of the book. So I, in the midst of already teaching group training classes, teaching cycle, homeschooling my kids, running my house, I decided that I wasn't going to be super overzealous about it. I was just going to stay the course. So I did follow the eTeach. So each week, in some weeks I would get off and I would have to catch up, but in general, I felt like they set those time frames. So I tried to stick with the time frames. So if it said read chapters 1, 2, and 3, I read chapters 1, 2, and 3 that week. And I made sure by Sunday of the next week, because that's how they would count them, that I had completed all of that week's work. Okay. So I did follow that, and I did take the midterms, and I wanted to know all of the information in the book. Now, here's the thing. Before I get into like my personal opinion on the level of difficulty, there are 800 pages in this text, okay? The test only has 120 questions on it, and 20 of those questions are research questions that do not count against your score. So there is no possible way for you to be quizzed on all of the information that is in here. However, I still would personally recommend that you do make yourself as familiar with all of it as you can, and not just skip over things because you think they won't be on the test. Now, the one thing I will give you a really quick clue about that was a very overwhelming chapter to me was the muscle anatomy and the skeletal systems, like knowing the name of every bone in your entire body. You do not need to actually know that. You need to familiarize yourself with all of them. But the most important ones were like knowing certain muscles, and they were very repetitive. So don't freak out about that chapter. That chapter really overwhelmed me. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to remember all those. And turns out I didn't really need to. And I spent a lot of time trying to, and I was getting really frustrated with myself. So like I said in the beginning of my video, I did pass my first time, and I did not purchase any other like study guides online. There's companies that like you can buy study guides from if you feel like you're going to fail, because if you do fail, you have to pay to retake it again. At least for the eTeach course that I had, I only had one attempt, and then it was going to cost me more money to retest. And it's not a small amount of money. It was around $200. And so I really didn't want to fail. So I went to my testing center, I took my test, and I passed the first time. Now, when I was sitting there waiting to receive this, I really honestly did not think I passed. And that wasn't just me self-doubting. It was just pretty difficult. So that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. The level of difficulty of this course is pretty rigorous, okay? I would not say that this is easy at all. Now, mind you, I've been in the fitness industry already certified. Like I hold 3, 4 certifications already within the exercise realm of things. I work with people on a daily basis on form and technique. And some of this information was still very new to me, or much more in depth than I knew it previously. Also, I completed nursing before I had my kids. So I did take like entry-level anatomy and physiology, and that I really couldn't recall any of this stuff from. So I do have experience, and I still thought that this was a pretty intense course. It is not easy. So don't go in expecting the course to be easy. It's not like rocket science, like you're never going to get there, but you do have to apply yourself to retain the knowledge. So going into that, what did I do so that I could pass on my first try? Because nobody wants to have to take a test again and again and again, especially when you're paying to do so. So here's what I did. like I said, I did go through the course following every week's recommendation. I did all the discussion questions in the eTeach. I did the midterms. At the end, once I had gone through all of the material, okay, I had read every chapter, I started taking the practice tests at the end, okay? There are 3 different ones. So I would bounce around because they each had different questions on them, and I would take those tests at least once, if not twice, 3 times, 4 times a week. At night, I would just take them. Then I would write down which ones I got wrong, because they did not give me the correct answers. They would just show like red X, you got it wrong, and it would give me my score, and it would say if that were my real test, would I have passed or would I have failed? So I would write them down, and then I would go back in this book and I would look up that information, that section, and I would write down the correct answer. Then I would spend time reviewing those answers, maybe 1 to 2 hours per night after my kids were in bed. And then I would retake it again. And what I noticed was every time my score would get a little higher and a little higher and a little higher until eventually I was passing. And then I was like, whoo, I'm passing. And then I was getting into the 90s, and then I was starting to feel pretty confident that I did know the majority of what I was going to be tested on. So that's how I studied. I read everything. I just did what the course said. Then I took the practice tests, and I took them over and over and over and over and over. And then I wrote down all of the questions I got wrong. I spent time in the index looking for those answers, rereading information if I kept getting them wrong. And then I kept taking the tests. I took practice tests all the way up until like 2 days before I went and took my exam, so that the information was fresh in my head. At 2 days before, I figured I either know the stuff or I don't know the stuff. I also would try to what's the word? I don't want to say regurgitate because that's a weird, gross word. Basically, I would try to share the information that I had been studying with people. So if it would come up in a conversation, hey, what is this muscle? I'm really sore right here. And then I would be like goofy about it. And I would be like, oh, that's your lower, whatever. And, and so I would just try to restate the information because that was really helping with understanding some of the more difficult stuff. So that's what I did. And it worked because I passed try number 1. Now, what the types of questions, I said I wasn't going to go specifically because every test is going to be different. I know that. Like I said, I took my test this past Monday, June of 2016, and it's now Thursday, June 2016. So this video is real time. It's accurate. If you're out there and you're studying for this, all of this is going to pertain to you. So like I said at the beginning, there are 100 questions that count towards your grade. You need to get a 70% or higher to pass. So that means at the most, you can miss 30 questions. On the test, there are 20 questions that are research questions. They do not count toward your score, but you will not know which ones those are and which ones they aren't. So some of the questions I could tell right away, they must be research questions because it was information that I had never even seen before in the book, and I read the whole thing. So those ones, there were only a couple that I was able to be like, okay, these are research questions. I wasn't really going to be worried about it. So the way I took my test was I went through question to question. I only answered it if I knew the answer right away. Every answer has four choices. Automatically, you're pretty much able to weed out 2 if you know the material, and then you're left with 2 that it could be or it couldn't be unless you know it straight away. Then I would only answer it if I knew it, like I knew it and there was no other way around it. If I did not know it, there's a button on your test that will say mark, and then you'll be able to go back to those questions. So I did that. I marked it, and I went through the whole test. At the end of the test, the 120th question, I had only marked 18 questions that I didn't know the answer right off the top of my head. And then I breathed a huge sigh of relief because I knew that I could miss 30. So even if I went back and I checked all those marked questions and I got all 18 of them wrong, I knew I was in good shape because it wasn't more than 30. So automatically I took a deep breath. Okay, good. Then I went through each one and I answered them to the best of my ability. I would say there were maybe 8 to 10 questions out of the 18 that at the end of the day, I still wasn't 100% confident on my answer, but I just eliminated the ones I knew it wasn't, and then I chose my best choice. And I did not go back to my other previously answered questions and change any of my answers. Don't do that when you take a test. Your gut instinct is usually correct. So that's what I did. I answered the marked ones I had, and then I said, okay, I double checked that I answered all the questions, I submitted it, and then that was that. It took me about 1 hour to do, and I think you're given 2 hours to do it. So I completed it in pretty decent amount of time. I wasn't rushing, but I was, I still had an hour left, so that was good. Okay, so that is my review. Here are the 5 areas you're gonna wanna know. You're gonna wanna know nutrition. You're gonna wanna know, how many calories are in a protein, how many calories are in a carb. You're gonna wanna know your energy systems. When you first start working out, what energy system is your body using? If you're running a marathon, what energy system is your body using? You're gonna wanna know vitamins, the commonly over-ingested ones, the ramifications of that. If you have too much calcium, what can that cause? That type of stuff, okay? So those are your big nutrition, water intake, fiber intake, big ones that are sticking out to me in my mind. The other huge portion of the test, your underactive muscles, your overactive muscles, and which muscles need to be strengthened, stretched in your fitness assessment. So your overhead squat, your pushing test, a pulling test. You want to know if the if the knees fall in an overhead squat assessment, what muscle is weak, which muscle needs stretching. You're going to want to know all of those. You're going to want to know the basics of what a trainer is allowed to do, like the laws. You're going to want to know your tax laws, and you're going to want to know what's in the realm of your scope of practice. Like, you cannot make a diet plan for someone because you're not a dietitian. You can point them at certain lifestyle things, but you can't give them a specific diet plan. You're going to want to know all of that. Tax records, liability insurance, all those things. You're going to want to know about pregnant and elderly populations, things that you would avoid, people with high blood pressure, certain things like that. You're going to want to know basic information about medications people take. Your antidepressants, your vasodilators for heart arrhythmias. You're going to want to know that. There were a few questions on certain things with that. Okay, you're going to want to know the biggest thing you're going to want to know, and you're going to want to have a big understanding of, is the OPT model in here. Strength, stabilization, that. And you're going to want to know what exercises fall into each one. You're going to want to know the tempo range in those. So a stabilization tempo is a 4-2-1 tempo. 4-2. Okay, you're going to want to know that. There were a ton of questions on that. For example, this exercise, how can we regress it? How can we progress it? This exercise, is that in stabilization or is it that in strength? Stretching, active, dynamic, static stretching, you're going to want to know all those really well. If a person is in the hypertrophy phase of the OPT model, what kind of stretching are they going to be doing? Okay, so those were all the biggest things that were on the test. Know those areas well, and you'll for sure pass. So this video has gotten much longer than I planned it on being, but thank you for watching. I hope this video helps anybody who was stressed out like me about passing this thing. Hey, listen, if you have any fitness questions, you can go ahead and post them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. I'm also looking for video ideas. If there are any videos related to like fitness, mom, fitness, the combination, whatever, that you would love to see here on my channel, go ahead and comment below and I will, if I get enough responses, I will try to deliver those for you guys. So I hope this video helps anybody out there. If you're studying for your NASM CPT, good luck, and I will talk to you guys soon.